Hello everyone, my name is Linda and today I'm going to be talking about breaking out of media queries. We all know media queries, we all love media queries, but when it comes to responsive websites, I think that there are other things that HTML and CSS provide for us that can help us build responsive websites apart from media queries. I think media queries are the most popular parts of CSS that you can use, but it doesn't have to be just media queries. You might be wondering, why can't we just use media queries? Well, when you're building a large website with a lot of pages that's going to be used across different devices, the work on media queries tends to have its downsides. First off, maintainability. It becomes really hard to maintain CSS files that contain a lot of media queries because you'll have to repeat yourself again and again when defining, for instance, the font size of a page for different devices, and also performance, because you have to repeat yourself over and over again when using media queries. It's very easy for the CSS files to become bulky, and when they become bulky, that means that it's going to take longer for the browser to download these CSS files. That's why I'm going to be sharing a few things that we can use provided to us by HTML and CSS apart from media queries to build responsive websites. And the first thing I'm going to mention is relative units. Well, relative units are popular. We all know things like the view width and the view height, and also using percentage, right? And yes, I agree that these things make it easier to work with different screen sizes, as for instance the view width is dependent on the present view, the width of the present viewport of the device that you are on. But I think that we can actually take this a step further, and that's why I love the calc CSS function. I'm calling it the calc boost, and I think that this really lets us unlock all the powers or most of the powers of relative units. I have an example here. I have a banner, and with this banner it's absolutely positioned, but I am setting a fixed margin of 40 pixels on both sides. Let me show it to you on my code pen. So here is the banner called breaking out, and as you can see, the width of the banner adjusts with different screen sizes, but yet still maintains the fixed margin of 40 pixels on both sides. And I think this is really handy. If the width was set, let's say using a fixed or absolute unit like pixels, then it would be hard to define and maintain the width at all times using media queries. Next, I have an example with columns. So in this situation, I am separating, well, like I say, defining the width of a column by dividing the full width of the parent element by 7. That means that I now have 7 units, and I can share these units within different columns. So as you can see, with the first unit I'm giving it just 1, and then with the second unit I'm saying 100% divided by 7 multiplied by 2, and then with the last one I'm saying multiplied by 3. So that means that this would always be twice the size of this, and this third column will always be twice the size of this. So calc is really fun. You should always make sure that you use you can use the right operators. You can divide, you can multiply numbers, you can subtract, and you can add, but you have to use you have to use relative units or absolute units of the same format. So you can multiply view height with view width, or pixels with rem, or something like that. Next, we can set minimum and maximum values. This is actually one of my favorites. I'm going to be showing you, we have the min and we have the max. So let me explain the min function. So with the min function, it takes in a preferred value and a maximum value. I'm setting the font size in this situation, and I'm saying that, okay, I want the font size to be 2.5 of the view width of whatever device it's on at the moment. But once 2.5 of the view width, once evaluated, is greater than 4 rems, I don't want you to exceed that. Use 4 rems instead. And then you can also see, you can do the reverse of that with the max function, stating that, okay, hey, I want the font size to be 2.5 view widths, but the minimum should be 4 rems. So once 2.5 of the parent view port, like of parent view port's width, is less than 4 rems, then it's going to evaluate to use 4 rem. And now I'm going to show you a code pen inspired by Una Covert. So with this, I am setting the width of this div to 50%, and then I'm also setting the maximum to 40 pixels. So I'm telling this way, I'm saying, hey, I want you to be 50% of the view of your parent element, whatever its width is. But once this 50% of the parent element exceeds 400 pixels, I don't want you to go beyond that. So as you can see, it keeps going and going. But once 50% of the parent element exceeds 40 pixels, it stops growing. And this is really nice because it lets you achieve a fluid design. And unlike with media queries where you have to be jumping from one width to another, instead of having a jumpy design, this just lets everything go fluidly. Next, you have clamping of values. So clamp is a merge of the minimum value and basically the min function and the max function, and it takes in minimum value, preferred value, and maximum value. So in this situation here, I'm setting the minimum value to 1.5 rem and the preferred value to be 2.5 view width, and then the maximum value should be 4 rem. So if you understood the min and the max, you should also get this. It's just saying that, hey, the minimum you can be at every point is 1.5, maximum it should be 4, preferred it should be 2.5. And look at how this works with the fonts. So here with fonts, I'm setting both for the head H1 and for the P tag, I'm setting the font size using clamp. And as you can see, when I readjust the size of my screen, you see how at first, at this point, it's just 1 rem, which is the minimum, and then it starts growing and growing, and then it stops growing. Let's stop growing now because it has reached the maximum font size. So everything is just transforming according to the size of the screen. We're not breaking any borders. You can set in the upper bound and the lower bound and define how you want everything to look like with just this simple line of code. Imagine if this was to be written with media queries. You would have to say, oh, for this size, write this. You will have to repeat yourself multiple times. But here you just have one line of code of CSS fixing everything. So I must mention that the calc function, min, max, and clamp, these CSS functions work with a variety of CSS properties. So wherever there's length, you're passing in length, frequency, angle time, percentage, number, or integer. You should know that these CSS functions accept all of these inputs. They are valid inputs. So next thing I'm going to show us is responsive images, using responsive images. So at this point, we know that we have responsive units, so we can we can scale according to the present screen size, and then we also have the min and max, so we can set the min upper boundary and the lower boundaries. But how about images? Because everybody knows that the average website right now, every website has an image. There's always an image somewhere, and that HTML has provided the picture and source tag, so they work together. So as you can see here, you can easily specify what image you want to be rendered at a particular width. At this point, I'm specifying max width, but as you know, you can take max height, you can take other properties too, and you can set different pictures based on the width size. And you can also do this with resolution, but since I'm really focused on just like screen sizes, I didn't add a snippet for that. But now Cloudinary has this awesome responsive image breakpoint generator that lets you upload an image and then specify like the resolution and the width and all of that, and it prints out and it gives you all the different images for all the different sizes, and that just kind of takes the burden off of you. So basically making building responsive websites easier. Thank you, Cloudinary. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So remember, always use your responsive your relative units. Use your relative units. You should use min, max, and clamp and calc to have more control of the values or the values of properties at different width sizes. And also you can take advantage of the picture and source tags in HTML to specify images for different widths. Thank you very much, and that's all.